Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. So today I'm going to be taking a look at one of my current failures, or one of the larger failures I've had in the last couple of months. And I do go into some of the failures I've had, and often on the reverse of that, I often tell you how much ISK I've made here, there and everywhere. So it is sometimes obviously good to look at things that have gone wrong, and you know, it's not always plain sailing when trying to make ISK, as I'm sure you very well aware of. So at the moment I'm on my way to Tama to pick up some BPOs, and again, before I went on the little break that I had, I obviously got researching some items, and I often do research items, and if you cast your mind back to my general hangar, I do have a lot of the capital BPOs sat there that I'm still struggling to sell at the moment due to the changes in capitals. And I've not been trying to get rid of them particularly hard. Again, I could drop the price quite drastically and probably still come out break even. But at the moment, I'm not willing to do it. I don't need the ISK, and therefore I'm willing to wait to see if I am able to sell them at the current price. I'm trying. And this is always the interesting thing with doing BPOs. And the BPO in question is the temperature. I forgot what they're called now. Where are we? Let's have a look. So core temperature regulators. Now, I bought a good number of these. There were none on the market. Oh, well, okay, rewind slightly. I'd researched 10 of these when they initially came out. Sold them all pretty quickly. I think I technically sold them slightly under what I should have been putting them on for, but I thought it was a fair price, and again, they kind of flew off the shelf. And I sold 10 pretty much in, 5-6 days. So I thought, fantastic. There's a market here. There were none on the market at the time, and so therefore I went and purchased a good number of them to get them researching. Now, the time it takes them to research isn't a huge amount. Obviously, I do it in Tama because, well, I like the adrenaline rush, I guess, and I don't generally have any issues at Tama. But to give you a rough idea of the time it takes, let's have a look. Depot, so to get it from level 0 to 10 it takes 39 days either side, so 40, so it takes 80 days. And obviously in the time you're researching and getting the VME and the PE or whatever it's called nowadays up to max levels or where you want them, the market can change quite drastically in the 80 days. So obviously when I started there was nothing, and by the time I'd finished they were a good number. And that is currently where I'm sitting now. Now I have taken some back to market to try and sell them, and the rest of them are currently still sat in Tama at the moment. So let's have a quick check. So temperature gauges, blueprint original, not for a billion. Well, yeah, a billion will do. So we can see here I've currently got one for sale at the moment. I have been undercut, but again, this is a 1018, and this has been sat on the market now for 11 days. Oops, we're in Tama now, the incredibly dangerous place which everybody hates to go, and oh look, no gate camp, what a surprise. Where are we going? However, I am in a cloaky ship, so that does make it a little bit safer just to Leroy in. I wasn't particularly worried, but yeah, again, I don't generally have any issues coming into Tama. In fact, touch wood, I've never been ganked in Tama yet, and again I do vast majority of my research in here, and it's not because I have friends or know any of the locals, it's just because generally it's not as bad as everybody makes out in my personal opinion. So here's the offending item. We've got 22 of the cores here. I've got another 10, 15 back at Jitter. I'm pretty sure I bought 40 in total, and so say I've still got a good number left to sell, and they're not moving particularly quickly at the moment. Now, at the time of buying these, obviously there were none on the market, and I'd assumed I would roughly sell them for double the amount I was buying them for. So what, 750? Going to sell them for 1.5 billion each, making obviously double the amount. So times 40, I was congratulating myself that I was going to make 30 billion ISK. Really easy, really straightforward, and was looking forward to doing a video congratulating about just how awesome I am. And yeah, here I am, struggling to sell the damn things. So as always, things don't always turn out quite as you plan. So I need to get these back to Jitter. Been leaving them here for a while, but basically might as well get them back. They're going to have to be sold sooner or later. They can't stay here. Now, I could potentially make some copies, sell them on the market and do that, but I'm not a big fan of selling copies. I never have been. I find it's quite a lot of work doing all the setting up the contracts, and it can be a bit miserable. Now, I am going to do a video in the next coming couple of weeks in regards to haulers, but I will cover it here for this one specifically. Now, I am in the Prowler at the moment. I do love the Prowler. Prowler is a wonderful ship, especially for things like this. High value cargo, but low volume, because obviously it can warp cloaked. Now, it has a couple of advantages. Obviously, it's really... And the second advantage and disadvantage to this ship is it cannot be cargo scanned. It's immune from cargo scanning, as it says here. Which is great and bad at the same time. And the reason that it's bad is because if you do accidentally get caught, and I'll go over a few bits at the moment, that people will randomly take pot shots at you on the off chance that you might be carrying something valuable. And, you know, obviously at the moment I am. And I don't generally go very far in this ship, but if you cast your mind back to the Halloween event, I was going to transport the war clones in this ship, or this type of ship anyway, and that is great and wonderful, and I would probably have made it perfectly fine, but on the way home, it being 72 jumps there and 72 jumps back, it's one of these ships that you can't just AFK put it on autopilot and just let it do its thing, because again, people are likely to try and gank you on the off chance that you might be carrying something. So it's great for transporting stuff, but obviously it can be a pain coming home if you've got nothing to bring home. And yeah, you know, I didn't fancy doing the 72 trips, and it warps pretty quickly, so it does have that advantage. But one of the things that can mess you up, because obviously when you jump into a system you cloak, that pretty much stops anybody being able to lock you anyway. But on the odd occasion when you do jump into a system, especially if it's a busy system or it's like Udama, the ganking Central of Eve nowadays, there can be a lot of police on the Stargate, and you can't cloak if something's within 2,000 kilometers of you, and you can get yourself into a bit of a mess. So it's one of them things that sometimes it's really handy just to have on the overview what is actually going on there, because yeah, you can try and cloak, and obviously you can't because entities are too close to you. And obviously with the type of ship, has been a couple of close calls where I have been locked by people, and they've been obviously on an R whether to take a pot shot at me, and thankfully they didn't at the time. But yeah, I was carrying at the time around about 15 billion ISK in cargo, and would have had a very bad day, because although you can tank these ships a bit, they aren't particularly tanky, and even if you do, chances are that if someone is out to gank you or is taking the risk to gank you, they're going to come with enough numbers to take you out regardless of how much tank you have. So we're now back at Jitter, safe and sound, with now nigh on 40, 30, 35 of these to sell. It's going to probably take me 6 to 9 months to get rid of these, and this is one of the issues that you start to run into when you start dealing with larger amounts of items, because obviously, you know, I'm trying to find areas that I can really maximize the amount of ISK that I'm making, and obviously generally that comes in bulk. If I'd only bought 1 or 2 of these, if you'd have been relatively a small investor, then it would have been a lot easier to shift, and you wouldn't be stuck here with 30 odd billion ISKs worth of BPOs that you now are going to take months to sell. And that is one of the pitfalls, obviously, with dealing with larger things and trying to find ways of making larger amounts of ISK. So I hope that was interesting. Again, to say, define failure, but at the moment it feels like a failure. I haven't made what I wanted, and I'm currently stuck with said item. And although the base price is the base price, I don't see it going much lower than that. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Again, I still have the enviable task of trying to get rid of them and trying to turn a small profit at least. I'm not selling them for NPC or below unless I really get pushed. So I do want to obviously make some ISK on this, but it is going to be a much lower amount than I initially anticipated. So with that, I think we'll round up there. Thanks for listening, thanks for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Fly safe.